Hey, 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 Malika here. How you doing? How you been? Welcome back to my channel. For those who don't know yet, which you should by now, but I'm going to remind you one more time just in case. I'm Malika, the founder and financial coach of Fabulous Financials, and I help Black women relieve financial stress and learn to build wealth so they can live whatever they love. I came on today because I wanted to share a little more about myself. I mentioned in some prior videos that I have retired early from my career, and I think I briefly mentioned that I moved abroad. So, yeah, today I wanted to talk about that a little more. I lived in the DC area for a little over 20 years, probably about 21 years. And during that time, y'all know what's in DC. I'm not going to mention my employer's name or what I did for a living, but I had a very, very good career. A career that I intentionally chose and a career that created the lifestyle that I love today. So I have no regrets. But it was a career that was very demanding, a career that at times was very high tempo, very stressful sometimes. And in the beginning, I loved it. In the beginning, I loved the pace. I loved learning new things. I loved meeting new people. I loved working on challenging projects. I developed amazing skills that have served me well in my personal life. Met a lot of wonderful people. My two closest friends today, I would have never known had it not been for my career. So when I reflect back on the past 20 years of my life, it's with very, very fond memories. So no regrets at all. But near the end of my career, I would say the past 5 years or so, the last 5 years of my career, I was reaching a point of exhaustion. I was reaching a point of burnout. I had progressed through the levels in my career pretty quickly, probably faster than most. I started at a entry level and reached the top of the pay scale within 7 years. So in the beginning of my career, I was 100% in grind mode. I had willfully subscribed to that hustle and grind culture that I am completely opposed to now because look what had happened. I burned out. The last 5 years of my career, I was pretty much just coasting because I had reached a point of burnout and I was just exhausted. And I started having a lot of thoughts like, is this really what I want to do with my life? Even though I'd already done it for 10 or 15 years. But I just started questioning, what's next for me? What's next for me? So I knew it was time for me to go, but I wasn't sure exactly what was next for me. And years ago, I had a personal finance blog of the same name, Fabulous Financials, that was named by the readers of my blog. So that name is very, very near and dear to my heart. And I was in a finance group one day and I read a post that was saying, oh, I remember reading this blog about this girl. She was a single mom and she used to always talk about her money. Man, I love that blog. Does anybody remember her? Her name was blah, blah, blah. And here I am reading this post, and it dawned on me this person is talking about me. It was a moment that took me back to my blogging days that were also very fond memories because that was a fun little hobby I used to have. But it was also a full circle moment for me because while I was thinking about what I wanted to do next in my life, it reminded me that what comes naturally and what I enjoy doing, which is talking about money, talking about my money, and showing people what's possible for them too. Reading that post reminded me of the impact that I had on others. And as I finished reading the post, I scrolled down, still not completely, it's not completely obvious that she's talking about me. I thought maybe she was, but as I read the comments, they were sharing more details about my life and my daughter. And I'm like, they really are talking about me. So if you are the person that wrote that blog and you follow me on Instagram and you're reading this, not reading, watching this YouTube channel now, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Because reading your post in that Facebook group and reading the comments from all the women who responded to you and said, and I read her blog. Yes, I loved her too. I can't even articulate exactly how it made me feel in that moment. But what I do want to say right now is I want to give you credit for being a light bulb for me and reminding me what my passion truly was that I had gotten away from because I was on the hamster wheel of corporate America, of capitalism, of chasing money, trying to achieve all the things that I associated with success. And by doing that, I lost myself and what truly matters to me and what truly lights me up inside. And I apologize in advance, I'm getting a little teary-eyed, but I had lost myself and I had lost what truly inspires me. Because when I was writing that blog, I was truly, truly inspired to continue writing every day and reading your comments and getting your feedback and seeing how you were applying to your life what I was sharing. When I was sharing the things I was doing in my life, it made me so excited. And I lost sight of that for almost 20 years because I was focusing on a career for the promise of money. It sounds absolutely ridiculous right now, but in the moment, I thought I needed a career with progressive ladders in order to prove to myself that I could be successful, in order to prove to myself that I could be financially self-sufficient so that I can take care of my daughter. It never occurred to me that what I was doing was making an impact. And as the saying goes, your gifts will make room for you. I never made the connection until I read your Facebook post. So thank you. Thank you for being the light that I needed in that moment when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. Shortly after reading your post, I did decide to officially start my coaching business, Fabulous Financials, the same name of the blog. And I started thinking about my exit plan. I started thinking about the date that I would finally say farewell. I started thinking about the impact financially that I would experience as a result of leaving my career early. Most people in my career, they do the job for 30 years before they retire. As I mentioned, I only did it for 20 years. So I was leaving 10 years early. So I had to calculate the financial impact of shortening my career by 10 years. And had some conversations with HR, did a whole bunch of number crunching. In 2022, I decided that would be my last year. And I made sure I maxed out my 401k, I maxed out my HSA, I maxed out my IRA. I made sure all of that was maxed out early because I knew I was not going to work a full year. I actually ended up leaving my job unofficially in May. So I had maxed out everything by May. And I left in May because the apartment that I was in, the lease was up and it was up for renewal in May, and they were raising the rent by hundreds of dollars in 1 year. And I said, absolutely not. So since I was no longer tied to the job, I no longer needed to be tied to the DC area. So that was my cue that it was time to go. And that was the date I established for myself. So I initially took a leave of absence first. I took a leave of absence. It was supposed to be for 4 to 6 months. Packed up everything, took it to my mom's house, spent several months with my family. I probably spent more time with my family in the summer of 2022 than I did in the entire 20 years combined. That is how much time I spent with my family. But yeah, spent some time with my family, did some traveling, and just Tusa. I was also building my business at the same time. Coaching was something that I realize it lights me up every time. Even when things are difficult, because entrepreneurship is not easy. I never, ever saw myself as an entrepreneur. I was always career focused, career oriented, getting that steady paycheck every 2 weeks. Yes. Being an entrepreneur never crossed my mind. You guys made me do this. But no, even through the difficult parts of entrepreneurship, I still love it. I still love it because I love helping. I love helping women break free, to be that catalyst to help her finally overcome that and to finally see light at the end of the tunnel. The rewards of that, the feeling I get, it's priceless. It's absolutely priceless. So I love coaching. I love helping Black women with their money because the finances I have today have not always been this way. For those who don't know me, I was a teenage single mother on welfare. And I was on welfare for the better part of the first 10 years of my daughter's life, between 8 and 10 years, but almost a decade of my daughter's life. And baby, I would never forget that time in my life. I would never forget how hard it was and wishing I had someone to guide me or advise me, mentor me, or shoot, give me a blueprint. Help me figure out how to get out of this hole, how to get out of this life of poverty. I had to figure all that out on my own. Now, I will admit, I had plenty of angels that God sent into my life. But the fundamentals of financial literacy, that is the part I had to figure out on my own. And if I had a mentor, a sponsor, or just some type of guidance from anyone, a friend, a family member, it doesn't matter, just some type of guidance from anyone, it would have made life so much easier. So I remember what it was like to feel stuck. And I remember wishing I had someone that could advise and guide me. Not necessarily to help me financially, but to just guide me and help me figure out life or tell me what to do or help me talk through the thoughts that I was having or the plans that I were contemplating. I didn't know what I was doing. So I love helping Black women with their money because I love being the person I wish I had. I love being that person for other Black women because I remember what it felt like. And I remember how much easier things would have been had I had the guidance. So that is why coaching lights me up. I almost feel like I'm helping little Malika. So while I was on my leave of absence, spending time with family and traveling, I was also coaching as well. Realized I love coaching and realized I could do this. I could do this. Uh, Coaching was bringing in enough revenue to cover my expenses. I had prepared very well financially for my exit strategy. So even if I had not started a business, I still would have been fine. So I had no concerns or I had no doubt that this was something that I could do and that would be fulfilling and it would be sufficient to live on. By the time the 6 months were almost up, I knew I wasn't going back. I knew I wasn't going back. So my boss had reached out to me via email, said, "Hey, how you doing? Just wanted to check in. When you get a moment, can we, hop on a quick, call? Just want to see, what your plans are going forward. Just want to touch base with you." Sure, no problem. Get on the phone with my boss. We have a really good conversation. Never had any issues with my boss. Actually, I didn't have any issues with the job in general, other than just me being burnt out and me wanting to explore something different, wanting to be fulfilled. But there was nothing about the job that I hated. I didn't hate my boss. I didn't hate my coworkers. There was nothing that was like making me hate life. Some people leave jobs after it's gotten so bad where they just hate everything about it. I didn't hate my job. I just wasn't fulfilled anymore. And I was just burnt out and wanted to do something that would fuel me again, that will revive me again instead of draining me. So had a good conversation with my boss. And of course, the question came up, when are you coming back? I knew that was coming, so I was prepared to answer the question. And at the time, I just let her know I wasn't ready to come back yet. I needed some more time, and that wasn't a problem. That was fine. There was a process. But after I got off the phone with her, I had this feeling that said, "Malika, why are you prolonging this?" It's like the little voice just said, "Stop, cut it off, walk away, clean slate, move on to the next phase of your life." And I was like, you know what? You're right. I prayed about it and it was confirmed. It's just time to move on to the next phase of your life. Fired up my laptop, wrote the resignation letter, and resigned. It was a difficult decision, I will admit. And in another video, if I feel comfortable getting vulnerable, maybe I'll talk about why it was a difficult decision, but I did feel somewhat relieved to have cut the cord and to realize that I'm free. I'm free to live what I love. I'll share more in another video. Bye for now.